Hi, my name is Kelsey, and I'm from an organization called Casey Trees. We have a mission to restore, enhance, and protect the tree canopy of the nation's capital. Today we're joining you from Kingman and Heritage Islands. These islands are human-made in the middle of the Anacostia River. Today we'll learn more about the canopy on the islands, the small, medium, and large trees that grow here. Did you know there are over 300 species of tree that grow in Washington, D.C.? We'll learn today also about the ecosystems that exist here in Washington, D.C. Kingman Island and Heritage Island host over 100 species of birds, mammals, and insects, and other wildlife.
I'm Therese Martin from Living Classrooms, and we're here at a vernal pool. Vernal pools form in low-lying areas where shallow water collects in the spring. These areas may be completely dry in the summer and fall, and this is an area that the ecosystem supports all sorts of life, so frogs, macroinvertebrates, and a variety of different kinds of plants. A meadow is an open space where there are no trees, but there are lots of grasses and wildflowers. This ecosystem supports a whole host of animals, plants, and microorganisms. In the summertime, this area is very busy, actually. It's full of pollinators arriving and visiting each of the different flowers. There are a variety of different colors and flowers out here, and taller plants that are as tall as I am, but down to very small plants as well. Tidal freshwater wetlands are marshes and swamps that experience tidal flooding. A lot of people think of the ocean as tidal, saltwater, but the Anacostia, which is freshwater, is also tidal. So right now the tide is in, so you see everything is covered by water, but if you were to come here at low tide, you would see a lot of areas that were mostly mud actually, and the water would be extremely shallow. That shift can happen over a number of hours to go from completely muddy to completely full. Tidal swamp forests are forested areas that are subjected to that same tidal flooding. The trees that are in this area have to be adapted to survive with their roots in the water. So those may be trees that are like sycamores or other trees that would be adapted to this sort of flooding that happens over and over each day.
Now that we've learned more about the ecosystems here on the islands, let's take a closer look at the trees that grow here. We'll look for some clues of the characteristics of different trees to help us identify the trees that we're observing. This may be difficult in certain seasons, but as you practice your observations, you'll get better and better at learning the tree and their names. The first clue or characteristic I'll look for on a tree is the tree leaf. And some trees keep their leaves all winter long, the evergreens, and some trees lose their leaves, they're deciduous. I'm looking here at a red cedar, and the red cedar is an evergreen tree with scale leaves. Other evergreens have needle leaves, so I'm sure you've all seen pines and spruces and firs, so they have needle-shaped leaves. They're thin and pointy, and the red cedar instead has a scale leaf. When trees do have leaves, I look at the different shapes. The first thing I'll consider are if the tree's leaves are compound or simple. Then I'll look at the tree leaves edge or margin. If it has a smooth edge, it is an entire margin. Or I'll see if the tree has serrated or lobed edge. The next characteristic we'll consider is the tree's bark. The bark of the tree is like the tree's armor. It protects the tree. Trees like this one have adapted to this environment because there is so much water present in the ecosystem. There are a lot of bugs and bacteria. The tree's bark peels or exfoliates to protect itself from bugs and bacteria. So this tree, the river birch, will peel its bark, allow it to fall to the ground like this. See if you can notice other textures of bark on the island. as you start to walk around and look at trees. A third clue or characteristic I'll look at are the fruits, flowers, and seeds. Depending on the different seasons you're in, you might see fruits or flowers. In the spring, a tree will put out its flowers to attract pollinators. The fruit is the reproductive system of the tree. It's how the tree releases seeds. In order to create fruit, a tree needs to have pollinated flowers. Flowers come in different shapes and sizes. Trees have adapted to different pollinators in the environment. For example, there are trees with tiny flowers with pollen that is borne by the wind. Other trees might have big, beautiful flowers to attract bees or butterflies or bats. I have an example of a flower here. This is an eastern red cedar. And you'll notice they have tiny little cones that grow on the tips of the branches. If I shake a branch here, you notice some yellow pollen start to come out of the tree. The pollen is released into the environment to other eastern red cedars so that trees can pollinate and grow their fruits. Some trees, like the red maple, have little flowers with pollen that is borne by the wind. The red maple's seeds are also taken by the wind with samaras or winged seeds. The sycamore is pretty similar. They have little flowers with pollen taken by the wind, and their seeds are seed balls that break into little feather-tipped seeds that fly with the wind. Trees like the oak have acorns where different wildlife will eat them and bury them. Sometimes squirrels forget that they've buried their acorns, and that's how acorns can reproduce to make new trees.
As you get to know the trees on the island, you may notice what makes them unique. When they bloom, their colors in fall, where on the islands they grow. Visit the islands through the seasons and get to know the trees here better.